Joining me right now to discuss the missteps and what to do about it is former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Secretary, it's great to see you this morning, and happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to be the father of my son, Nick, and to all the fathers out there, bless you. Stay in your kids' lives. Keep working hard to make sure that the next generation that comes behind us is a great one as well. And to all the dads, thanks for what you do. And Maria, I know your father passed away. Mine passed away a couple of years back. And bless all those fathers that have meant so much to our country over all these years. They are an important part of American institutions that have made this country great.
Well, thank you for that, Secretary. And you have focused on leadership from day one in your extensive resume. I want to get your take on where we are today. Assess what's most important for people. I know you've been traveling. You went to 4 states just in the last few days. What are you hearing from constituents?
Well, Maria, you went through in your opening a long list of things that are just troubling the American people. The biggest challenge we face in the immediate term is the fact that families are being impacted in ways they're having to fundamentally reshape their lives. Folks who thought that they were retired can see that their savings now are worth half or 2/3 of what they were just a handful of weeks ago, and they may have to re-enter the workforce after they'd already planned for their life for decades. Families who were trying to buy a home now find that interest rates are at 6%. Grocery shelves in stores are empty. This is deeply un-American. It is a result of failed policy from the White House. And this has all really taken place over the last 18 months since the administrations have changed out. It doesn't have to be, Maria. This is failed leadership, bad politics, just a wedding to a climate agenda that has destroyed the American energy industry that is at the base of so much of these cost increases. We know how to fix it. We can secure our southern border. We can get affordable energy prices. We can get the economy going back again. But the President of the United States is going to have to take responsibility and change directions, and he shows no signs of doing that. Rather, he'd rather lash out and tell the American people, don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah, I mean, look, we continue to see the president's poll numbers at record lows. We have the numbers this morning. Just about 39% to 43% now approve of this president's performance, and yet he is digging in, continuing this climate agenda. Secretary, we have Gina McCarthy, the head of the climate advisor team, who's telling big tech to censor any stories that they don't agree with. She's actually talking to big tech and saying, you need to wipe out, quote-unquote, disinformation. Here's Gina McCarthy this week. Watch this.
The tech companies have to stop allowing specific individuals over and over again to spread disinformation. That's what the fossil fuel companies pay for.
And yet they talk about it as if it's a transition. They don't mind that inflation is stoked and has been making everything more expensive, most notably gasoline.
Maria, you put Gina McCarthy on a video alongside me. That's like putting the red carpet in front of the bull. I've known Gina McCarthy since she was the director of the EPA, when she was just trying to destroy the businesses in my home state of Kansas when I was a member of Congress. What you just heard there is exactly the same thing. They have been trying to cancel the ideas that we've been putting forward to build an American energy complex that includes all of the above: oil, natural gas, renewable fuels, hydropower, all those things. They've been trying to destroy those opportunities, and instead they have this faith, and I call it a faith greatly intentionally. It is a secular religion on climate change, and it is destroying the American people's lives. This isn't academic. This isn't about some IPCC report. This is about human beings who are trying to figure out how to afford to turn the lights on in their home and fill the gas tank in their car. Gina McCarthy doesn't give a whip about that, and she is destroying the American people's lives with the blessing of the President of the United States. And to try and stop information, good science, from being out in the public is one of the most dangerous things government can do, and Gina McCarthy has been an advocate for that for an awfully long time.
Yeah, and now the president wants to travel to Saudi Arabia. Secretary, I think one of the most important things that you did, that you led, was the Abraham Accords. You did a lot in this past administration, as well as running the CIA and in your time in Congress. But when you take a look at the Middle East and what took place on your watch, now the president is traveling to Saudi Arabia to try to get them to put more oil on the market. How do you think that meeting plays out?
Well, I'm glad that the president recognizes that we need more energy in the marketplace. So check that one. I said something good about President Biden this morning. But the first place he should go to is Midland, Texas, or the Bakken Shale, or Pennsylvania. American energy is the right place to start. Instead, they started with the Iranians and the Venezuelans and have now moved to the Saudis. Look, I hope that the fact that he's taking a trip there will convince the Saudis, more broadly, even OPEC, to produce more energy. I think that'd be a good thing for the American people. But when you side with the Iranians, when you side with the world's largest state sponsor of terror against Israel and against Saudi Arabia and against the Emirates, those leaders in those countries no longer have confidence in the United States, and the chance that they're going to do a solid for Joe Biden is exceedingly low. I hope he can turn the course there, but make no mistake about it. They set the mark when they made this decision to walk away from the Abraham Accords and the peace and stability that they had brought to the region, the economic prosperity that they brought to the United States of America as a result of Emiratis and Moroccans and Israelis all trading together. When they walked away from that and said, no, we want to go back into that crazy Iran nuclear deal, they made American energy prices higher, and they made life worse for every American.
Yeah, and I think that the Saudis are upset about the president continuing to try to get the U.S. back into this Iran deal. Now, we're expecting that the president is also going to visit Israel on this Middle Eastern trip. Tell me about what they are thinking right now. I know that there are reports that Israel is talking to the Saudis about improving diplomatic ties even further post those Abraham Accords. But I'm told you can't even say Abraham Accords in the White House today.
Maria, I can imagine what Prime Minister Bennett is thinking in Israel. He's thinking that when Hamas fired rockets into Israel, it took this administration, the Biden administration, 4 days to say that Israel had the right to defend itself. They no longer have confidence that the United States and Israel will have the deep connectivity that we had during the time of my work and President Trump's work. And so when your friends don't trust you, when your most important ally in the region doesn't trust you, I'm confident that the Israelis are trying to figure out how it is they're going to make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, even if the United States won't support that effort. I pray that it doesn't come to that, but I know that they must surely be trying to figure out how can we build a coalition. They're working more closely with the Arab states today than they are with the United States of America. That's not good for our country, let alone not good for the region. That matters an awful lot to people in Iowa and Kansas and Texas and Virginia. These places that I have traveled, they can all see that the stability that we had built during our 4 years has now been just squandered, thrown away, and putting us all at risk.
What a terrible shame. I want to get your take on what's going on in Iran right now. And I know that the mullahs in Iran are still trying to target you, that forcing you to have extra security around. But if tensions increase and the Iranian regime actually retaliates, because you see these protesters bubbling up in Iran right now, is the area becoming more fragile? Does this become the next crisis for the United States? Isn't it true that they could block the Straits of Hormuz and prevent oil cargoes and perhaps make the oil situation even worse?
Maria, there's no doubt about it. It's a tenuous situation. That risk is very real. I watched this for 4 years. I was so deeply involved in making sure that that day never came. When the Iranians were threatening Americans, we took out the leader of the IRGC Quds Force to make sure that he never threatened another American. This administration instead, they talk about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. That's a bad thing. But the detention of Americans in Iran, the Iranian efforts to murder people all across the world, the fact that they continue to sponsor terror from Hezbollah on Israel and from Hamas and the Iraqi Shia militias, the Iranians are the single largest threat in the region. They could indeed close down the strait, drive up energy prices even higher. And this administration chose to try to appease them. That has failed. This isn't academic. This matters to people all across the United States of America. What happens in Tehran doesn't stay there. It impacts us. And when you get that wrong, when you try to appease someone like the Ayatollah, who is a religious, theocratic, authoritarian, who wants to put down these protests inside of his own country using brutal force, and I pray for the Iranian people every day. When you have an administration that has abandoned our friends and is emboldening our adversaries, it becomes incredibly dangerous, not only in the Straits of Hormuz and the Arab Peninsula and in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, but in the United States as well.
Secretary, real quick before you go, I saw your speech at the Faith and Freedom Coalition's Road to Majority Conference in Nashville. It was a great speech. Congrats. I think that you were complimentary to President Trump, but you also talked about what your leadership did in the administration. It has sparked lots of people to talk about you in 2024. Are you planning to run for president in 24?
Well, thanks for the compliment. It was a great group. We need to build an American majority, an American coalition. That's what I talked to the folks who were assembled there about. It was a wonderful evening. They gave me this Ronald Reagan Award. How cool is that for someone who was a young lieutenant and when he was my commander-in-chief? I'm working on 2022 all across the country, helping to get folks elected, and then Susan and I will work and pray and decide how we're going to best serve America as we move forward from there.
All right. Great to see you. Congratulations on that. And it's
Maria,
good to see you this morning, this Father's Day. Secretary of State.
Thank you, Maria.
Mike
Happy
Pompeo.
Father's Day.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Secretary.